Hello again, and welcome to week 4. This week we're going to dive deep into environmental issues and focus our innovation project on the ideation phase of the human-centered design process. But first, I want you to know about a terrific opportunity that we've been given just this last week. We have a grant that includes a competition with prizes for the best sustainable innovations. Prizes are good too. They include a 3D printer, a VR headset, and a Made in America drone. And for anyone who might want to pursue their innovation to the next step, Professor Kishbaugh is connected to opportunities for you to pitch your idea for funding. And if you have an idea for a sustainable product or business that you can start over the break, I've also been asked to identify any entrepreneurial students that would like to be a vendor at our January Fresh Start Market at DT Clearwater. The bottom line is, do your most creative, most innovative work that will solve an intractable pain or create a delightful gain for customers that are in need of a social, environmental, or economic solution. There are 2 assignments this week. Assignment 1 asks you to do some secondary research into your environmental SDG. Assignment 2 takes the next steps in the innovation process. I'll go over each one of these. Your secondary research for the first assignment focuses on the issues, solutions, and systematic approaches affecting the environment, and you'll be applying your research to your setting. Note, no replies are needed, and AI may be used for research. The second assignment is a pack-back assignment. So it starts with you creating an initial post in which you develop open-ended questions on 3 topics related to the environmental issues in your setting. This is like another mini interview that gathers more primary data from your stakeholders. Then you will be answering the 3 questions from 3 initial posts so that you can give each of your colleagues a cohesive interview. Finally, you'll be gathering and sharing insights from your interviews to identify feasible and innovative solutions. You may remember from last week when you identified pains and gains for social SDGs. We'll be doing something similar this week, but not identical. Last week, you read about some immersion tactics in your field guide for human-centered design. Review it now on page 52 of the field guide. Now for your first question in your initial post, you should ask your stakeholders to immerse themselves in your setting. Frame your first question to address their pains and gains or the environmental pains and gains. You may ask your colleagues to be observers, immersing themselves in your setting and identifying the environmental impacts that they see. Or you may ask your colleagues to role play as stakeholders who experience firsthand the environmental issues in your setting. This first question addresses the define phase of design thinking. This week we'll be using this information to help us define the environmental problems in our setting. The second question in your initial post should ask your colleagues for input on how technology can help you develop your solution in your setting. There are 2 places where technology can play a role. It can be used to help create the prototype, such as a 3D printer or a VR platform, or it can be used to help solve the problem itself, either using the previous technologies I mentioned or others like drones or robots. Don't limit yourself to the technologies mentioned last week, but do constrain yourself to technologies that are feasible for us to use. For example, you may not want to use a small nuclear reactor as a technological solution, even though they provide a lot of clean energy. The third question in your initial post moves you into the ideating phase of design thinking. This week, you've been reading a lot of ideas about that in your field guide. The third question in your initial post will be seeking input from your colleagues on the possible solutions that you might be able to tackle. You might phrase the question as a "how might we" question. Review page 85 in the field guide to refresh your memory regarding this method. As part of the third question, be sure you ask your colleagues to brainstorm as many ways as possible to address your problem. Tell them how you want them then to identify their top three. Number 1, 2, 3, you make the preferred ones bold, or another method that makes it easier for you to see their priorities. For your fourth and last post, review your primary and secondary research to gain some insights, and then analyze these three areas. What do stakeholders want and need? Define the problem using a sentence framework, and analyze your top three solutions for desirability, viability, and innovation. Let's take a look at each one of those. Take the insights you've gained from your stakeholders and your secondary research. What do your stakeholders want or need? And create one or more insight statements. You can review the method for creating insight statements on page 81 of the field guide. Next, define the problem that you are trying to solve. Based on your insights from research and interviews, define the environmental problem in your setting that you would like to tackle using a sentence framework. Someone needs a way to do something because ... After reviewing the ideas from your colleagues, and you may add your own, select 3 that you think might be desirable, viable, and innovative. Analyze those 3 solutions based on those criteria. For ease, you may include your analysis in a table format like the one on this slide. Then take a look at which solution scores the highest. Note that this is a qualitative analysis. You need to add your common sense to it. If the solution that turns out best doesn't really look like the best one, you may want to apply other important criteria. At the end of your analysis process, you should have a solution that you think you might want to pursue. Complete your 4th post with your best environmental innovation. Now, this doesn't mean that you will be prototyping an environmental solution. Last week, you generated some great ideas for social innovations. Next week, we'll be doing the same with economic solutions. But early in next week, you will be selecting one of those innovations, and in the rest of the week, you will be building a prototype and designing a pilot. That pilot will be carried out in week 6. And you will have week 7 to tweak your solution and develop a pitch suitable for venture capitalists. The pitches that you will be giving or recording at the start of week 8 will be your submissions for the competition, and we will judge the best entries in week 8. Let's be real about this, and it'll be a lot more fun as well. So let's get started. Enjoy the week.